Hello, hello, welcome. Thanks for being here. I am Marina Orms, the founder of Astrology Heals at astrologyheals.com, and I am interviewing badass women of the zodiac. And today I have with me Tracy Chipman. Tracy is just an amazing person and has an amazing heart, and I've known her for many years, and she is a professional storyteller. Tracy is a lover of the wide arc of this interconnected life, a story carrier, teller, writer, and yogi based in the north and west of Wisconsin. And her website is listentoatale.com. So welcome, Tracy.
Thanks, Marina. It's lovely to be here on this fine late spring day.
Yes, yes. And Tracy is a Leo, so we have, I'm sure she'll have lots to say. And Leo is a fire sign. It is a fixed fire sign, and Leo has a lot to do with self-expression and being seen. So how do you see that coming through in your life?
How do I see being a Leo coming through in my life? Well, I see it in lots of ways. I think at this point in time in my life, you know, there's always two sides to every coin, and I see it playing out as a certain willfulness and an unwillingness at the same time to not compromise in certain parts of my life, in certain areas of my life. So a certain sun-centeredness around mostly like that deeper soul work that I think is part of my life. We can call it, can weave it in as destiny or whatever, however we want to frame it. But I think that Leo constitution has served me well, in that I may sacrifice in many other areas of my life, but in that deep soul area of doing my soul work and staying on whatever is my path of truth, that I feel that Leo quality has helped keep me there, even though I'm prone to lots of flitting around and maybe unboundedness. That path of staying in the sun circle, I attribute to Leo.
Yeah, that's interesting. Can you give an example?
Well, you know, I just think about the trajectory of my life, and you know, I almost want to, it's a self-centeredness, but not in the way that we think of a self-centeredness, not in a narcissistic way, although I'm sure there are moments where that crops up, but I'm not talking about that. Specifically, I think about the work that I did in the Outer Hebrides in the 1990s. So I had this strong connection to Scotland and had lived there and connected with the people and connected with the language, Scottish Gaelic. And that just led to the creation of a nonprofit. It led to going over there and spending many summers and then even a whole winter there, doing research and collecting stories from the oral tradition bearers there, and really visiting with them and getting to know them. And that other Leo piece, that heartness, that being, you know, with people in that nucleus of heart. Yes. Is really, I think, a powerful part of that Leo quality that I bring, a genuineness and openness. So just being able to choose that at a time when many of the outside forces in my life are saying, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you, you know, you should be staying with your path as an educator. And I didn't stop being an educator. I did my work in the summer, but it was knowing that this was for me, and not knowing why or how, but just knowing that I needed to stay on this path. And I did. And there was a lot of real sweet flow and synchronicity that happened that just validated that I was on that right path for me. And so I think that cycle and that energy has shown up throughout my life in different things, even things that maybe weren't as, like, you know, fun or wonderful as travel and connecting with other cultures. And you know, I think about 10 years ago around this time, my father was dying from late stage lung cancer, And I just knew that it was for me. Like I needed to show up and be in his life in a more constructive way to help him transition. And that wasn't an easy path, but it's again that knowing this is for me. And I do feel that that's part of that Leo quality of centeredness.
Yeah, it's kind of like being true to yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I do. And I can't tell you why exactly I feel that it's a Leo quality, but I just feel that it is strongly. And so I'm just going to trust that.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. I think it gets to kind of a deeper place of what Leo is about. It definitely, yeah. I mean, it gets a bad rap of being, attention centered or demanding attention. But like really where that is coming from in terms of what your heart wants to share and give.
Yes,
and be present.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even just dwelling on that question of what makes me a badass through the quality of Leo. And initially when I started reflecting and just spending some time with that and marinating in that question was, well, because I am. And that felt like such a Leo thing to like come up with, just because I am. And
I love it. Yeah, it's like, probably all of us could use a dose of that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I have heaps of insecurities and all kinds of self-doubt, but just even that inquiry really helped me like, oh, there's this integrous, this solar center that I can really, I can feel that. And yeah, it has some serious badass qualities. And it was nice to be able to, hook onto that when I may be swirling around in the sea of doubt and feel that sun-centeredness kind of buoying me up.
Wow. Yeah. So my next question was, what have you had to overcome? So you have spoken to that a little bit.
Yeah. What have I had to overcome in terms of
to step into being a Leo badass and to trust that part of yourself?
I think, like what you said, that there's the quality of the deepening aspects of Leo. I've had to kind of get over myself as having maybe predisposition, especially when I was younger, to wanting the attention in a more immature way and sinking into, so what have I had to overcome, kind of working through some of the underlying baggage or shadows of that. And coming to a place where really, as I get older, there's just more shine and more being able to step into that. So I guess overcoming some of the more immature aspects of Leo, I would say, without putting too much of a judgment on them. They're just less immature. They're more immature. That's the right word. Yep.
Yeah. So what would you say to other Leo women who want to step into their badass selves? What tips about how to shift that, the parts that you've had to overcome, the more challenging parts?
Well, I think it's this interesting dance, in my experience, of acceptance, accepting that there are those less mature parts that may be like presenting and showing up, and befriending them, like that generous nature of Leo, which I'm very aware of and how it lives in me, but being generous with myself. And that's a shift. So being generous, even with those less mature parts, and then working with them to bring them, into the sun, into that bigger aspect, that deeper aspect of Leo, which is so heart-centered.
So, what would Leo self-love look like? How do you give yourself love?
Well, I think that piece about being generous with myself, and that might mean like some boundary setting, because it's so easy to just can be shy, be like radiating outward all the time. And I mean that as a metaphor, but just in so many areas, to just be generous with myself and have that turned inward. has probably been the biggest gift. So shining inward, not just outward, and whatever that can look like. But I feel that, and it's looked so many different ways. So self-care and self-love look like just turning that back in to that inner quality of my soul and my work on this planet at this time in this life.
Shining inward. I love that.
Yeah, and and then there's the parts of self-love that mean just picking flowers and allowing myself, to revel in the sensory aspect, which I think I sometimes attribute so much to Leo, that playfulness, that largesse of just the world is my oyster. And
Fun. Yeah. It sounds really fun. And
yeah.
So you have to choose those aspects of it, and as you learn and grow, you step more fully into. And I think that too, what you're able to offer and contribute, like you were saying, that becomes more radiant and more glorious.
Yes.
As you do that work of loving yourself.
Exactly, as I do that inner work, and then there's more movement outside. And I see that in my relationship with my craft of storytelling. And I've been on the storytelling path for 2 decades now, and just that development through that lens of Leo and the generosity and that solar energy, in a way, as a metaphor.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
and so you get to express yourself through the medium of storytelling, but art is life, and it changes us, so very healing.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Tracy.
Sure.
Unless you have anything else to add, I think we could end there.
No, I think then the other piece, I just took a few notes. I think back to how did my sign help me overcome, something about having lived through multiple different traumas in my life, and that quality of Leo, that strength of Leo, that courage of Leo, that heartfulness, and something about that. Sometimes it's hard to talk about something when it's so close and it's so like interwoven into the fabric of who you are on some levels. But I think encountering certain obstacles, I think that strength and that courage that is part of that Leonin quality I can see showing up.
Yeah, and what does that look like? So how does courage look like? Is it the courage to keep going?
Yeah.
Yep,
the courage to keep going. I think about my dance with some chronic illnesses the last 10 years, Lyme being one of them, and just this courage to keep moving forward with it, to keep not just figuring it out, but to keep moving towards like healing, rather than, I suppose, giving up on some level, on a deeper level.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I think that's it.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing. And
sure.
Your Leo qualities get to radiate out to all of us, and we get to take on a little bit of that, like, oh yeah, I could shine a little bit more too.
Absolutely. And I think the key is that if we all can shine with the gifts that we're here to present on the deepest level, that is just, that's just my desire, my wish, my dream for every being on this planet.
Totally. Beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me, Marina.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.